Hi everyone, welcome to day 2. On day 1 we learned about passing and how that's a way to get the ball from one person to the next and to move the ball around the court. Well, today we're going to learn about setting, and setting is another way to do that, and it's really helpful when the ball is coming to you and it's really high. It's higher than your shoulders. There's no way to get your arms underneath there and make it hit here. We need to be able to use our hands with setting, so we're going to learn about that. And the other reason that you need setting is a lot of times it's used as a way to make the ball easier to hit for the hitter. So it's used almost every second touch on each side of the net. Usually we try for a pass to the setter, a set from the setter, and then a hit from the hitter. So pass, set, hit. So you'll see that a lot of times, or you'll see bump, set, spike. That's kind of the old school way of saying it, but now we say pass, set, hit. So we're going to learn about setting, but first let's warm up. Okay, so for our first warm-up, we're going to do a card pickup, or card squat, we call it. So Kate has a deck of cards. You can use a deck of cards. We've got 10 cards here. You can use as many as you want. But if you don't have a deck of cards, you can just use pieces of paper or whatever you can find that you would be low to the ground that you'd have to pick up. And so what Kate's going to do is, when I say go, she's going to start out by putting the cards down and squatting to put them down on the ground and standing back up, taking a step forward, squatting, putting the next card down. She's going to keep doing that till she runs out of cards, and then she'll go backwards and pick the cards back up. The reason we want to do this is because volleyball uses your quads a lot and they have to be strong. So you have to work them out and get them in shape so that they're able to do what they need to do. Volleyball players spend a lot of time crouched down like this in this position, and their legs need to be really strong. So you need to get your legs strong too. So Kate, when you're ready, go ahead and start. You can see Kate is squatting with each card. She's just taking one step before she hits each card to the ground. I don't know if she'll go out of the screen here. And now she's going to go backwards and pick them back up. Oh, where'd that card go? Good job, Kate. Almost done. One more card. And she's done. Now in my gym, usually we'll do this over and over again, and so your legs get really tired, but it's really good for them. So you can do it as many times as you'd like to do at home, but this is something that you can do on a regular basis to make those legs nice and strong so you're ready to play volleyball. Okay, so now we're going to talk about setting form. And when a setter sets, they're always going to have their right foot forward. So Kate's going to turn to the side here, and she's going to have her right foot forward. So it doesn't matter whether you're left-handed or right-handed, right foot is always forward for every setter. When Kate's arms are up in the air, she's going to stick her arms up above her forehead, elbows out, and she wants to have her hands, if you can notice from the side, her wrists are back, and her thumb and her pointer fingers are about the same distance apart, and she has ball-shaped hands because your hands need to wrap around the ball. So if you look at Kate, she's ready to take the ball in, and if you notice where her hands are, it's on her forehead. We're always going to take the ball when we set on our forehead, so you have to move your feet around, because if the ball's coming out here, I need to get over here so that I can take the ball on my forehead before I set it. So we call that like a window. Like if I'm looking through this triangular window, I can see the ball coming at me on my forehead and then push it back out. Okay, so first what we're going to do is work on Kate receiving the ball. Have you ever been to a picnic where you've done an egg toss? You know, they toss the egg back and forth and you almost have to cushion it a little bit so that it doesn't break in your hands, or a water balloon toss, something like that. It's the same type of concept with the ball. So when I toss the ball to Kate, she's going to receive the ball and kind of cushion it a little bit as it comes into her forehead. And she's just going to leave it there for right now. Now that's not a complete set, but that's the first part of a set that we want you to learn. So if you can get a partner, have somebody toss the ball to you, tell them to toss it high into your forehead. Doesn't have to be crazy high, but just high enough that Kate can get underneath the ball. So I'm going to toss it. Kate's just going to stop. She bobbled a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to try it again. Just hand it back to me. Okay, right foot forward. So you got your left foot forward. There you go. Okay. Okay, so you notice she had to move forward a little bit and get a little bit lower to make it land on her forehead. Okay, back up just a tiny bit for me, Kate. Back up a little bit. All right, ready? Yep, so she has to let it come in on her hands. Now, it might be hard to see, but we want it right where your fingerprints are on your fingers and your thumbs. That's where we want the ball to touch. It will still touch a little bit up here, but the main part of where it's touching is on your fingertips. We don't want it on the ends of your fingers. That would hurt, but we want to make sure that we're taking it in with our fingers. Okay, try and catch it, and there you go. Okay, one more. Good. So that's receiving the ball. Kate's going to toss it to me a few times, and I'm going to do it here. Right foot forward. Whoop, toss it higher. Right foot forward. Okay, right foot forward. Right foot forward. Right foot. Okay, so I'm landing with it on my head. I've got my elbows out. My hands are around the ball. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to have Kate keep tossing to me, and I'm going to show you the next part. The next part is, once it's in my hands, what do I do with it? Well, I need to get rid of it, but I need to push it out. And so if you notice, I receive the ball, my legs are bent, my arms are bent, and when I gotta push it out, I have to bend my knees or straighten them and straighten my arms at the same time. And I want my hands to go from ball shaped to flat, because I want to end up looking like Superman flying when I'm done. So I go from receiving the ball to Superman when I'm done. So Kate's gonna, here, just hand me the ball. So I'm going to start out, we're just doing the second part of setting now, which is the ball's already in my hands. Now I need to go from bent to Superman and push it back out to Kate. Hand me the ball again. Okay, get it on top of my forehead, proper ball-shaped hands. I'm going to go Superman and push it out. We don't want to swim, so we don't want to end up with our arms out here. We want to end up with them straight and pushing forward to where the ball is. Okay? One more. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to put it all together. I'm going to toss to Kate, and she is going to receive the ball and get it back out right away. So now we're going to put them both together, and there's not a pause in between. You can't hold on to the ball in volleyball. So she's going to receive it and push it right back out right away. So it's going to be so small that you may not see it right away. Oh, that was really low from the wind. Try again. Good. Receive it. Whoop. Receive it and push it back out. Flat hands, Kate. Good. Right foot forward. Oh, the wind is pushing the ball back at me. Good, set. Good, and like Superman. Perfect, set. Okay, you toss to me for a second. Ooh, toss to my forehead. Couldn't get my right foot forward because there's tossing behind my head, but okay. All right, so that's setting. If this is something that you want to practice on your own, you don't have someone to toss with you, you can do it the exact same way that I talked about yesterday with passing. So you're just going to toss to yourself and set to yourself and practice moving around and getting underneath the ball. And you can also do it against a wall, so garage wall, basement wall, something like that. This one you could probably, because it's not very hard, you could probably do it against a drywall inside your house in your bedroom, and your parents probably won't mind because it's not going to ruin anything, although it might be loud, so they may not like that. Another way to do it is you can do it even sitting on your bottom, crisscross applesauce, and just against the wall. Get real close to the wall and just little tiny sets. It'll get used to how your wrists need to move and how it needs to be touching your fingers to come off of your fingers properly. The one thing I forgot to mention is to make sure both hands are touching at the same time. If one touches before the other one, we call it a double. That means it hits you 2 times. And in volleyball, you can't have the ball hit you 2 times. It can only hit you once with each contact. So when you take the ball and push it back out, both hands need to be touching it at the same time. time and pushing at the same time in order for it to be legal. So now it's time for challenge time on day 2, and today we're going to talk about courage. Now there's a lot of people in the Bible that had a lot of courage, men and women, but today we're going to talk about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they showed an exceptional amount of courage in the situation that God had put them in. So our story today comes from Daniel 3, so if you want to learn more about it, you can go read it on your own in the Bible. But the story starts with King Nebuchadnezzar, who was a super proud king, and he wanted to conquer everything. He had conquered the land that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego lived in, and he had taken them captive. So they're living in a new land that they don't know, and they're having to do all these things that King Nebuchadnezzar has said that they have to do. So one of the things that King Nebuchadnezzar had said that they had to do was worship him. Whenever there was a certain sound, like a gong that sounded or whatever, they had to get down on their knees and bow to King Nebuchadnezzar. This was showing that they had allegiance to him and that they worshiped him. Well, this went against what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego believed in, because in the Bible, if you remember, one of the 10 commandments is, thou shalt have no other gods before me, right? And you shall worship only the one true God. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew they couldn't do this. They couldn't worship King Nebuchadnezzar. They needed to worship the one true God. And so they decided that they were going to go against the king's decree. So what they did was, when the sound came, then everybody in the whole city got down on their knees to worship Nebuchadnezzar. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't. And when King Nebuchadnezzar heard about it, he was furious. He was so mad that they would go against his decree. So he decided he was going to put them into a fiery furnace. Now, we don't have anything like a fiery furnace around here, but just imagine a room that's so hot, it burns up anything the second it gets put in it. It turns it to ash right away. So King Nebuchadnezzar he's so angry at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he actually decides that he's going to have them turn the furnace temperature up higher, so that there's no doubt that these boys will suffer for what they did and not worshiping him. It's so hot that the soldier that helps put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the fiery furnace, he dies because he got too close, even being on the outside of the door. It was that hot. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they get in the fiery furnace, and everybody's amazed to see that they're walking around inside the fiery furnace. They're not dying. And there's actually a fourth person with them. And we don't know whether the fourth person was actually Jesus himself, or whether it was an angel that God sent to protect Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But either way, God was protecting Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because they were doing the right thing. They were obeying God and doing what they knew to be right, even when it wasn't convenient, even when it meant that they would die for it. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walk around inside that fiery furnace with that fourth person, whether it be Jesus or an angel. They come back out, and Nebuchadnezzar is amazed that they don't even smell like smoke. Now, have you had a campfire yet this summer? I bet you came away from that campfire and your clothes still smelled like smoke. Maybe even the next day if you didn't take a shower. They still smell like smoke. It's in your hair. You smell like smoke. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they came out of that fiery furnace and they didn't even smell like smoke. And Nebuchadnezzar was so amazed by what their God did, he realized this must be the one true God if he was able to save them from that. So he decided he was going to make the whole city worship the one true God. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego not only did the right thing, but they influenced an entire city and a very proud king to worship the one true God with them. So that's what it is to take courage and to stand up for what you believe. And if you look at the verse for today, which is 1 Samuel 12:20, it says, "Do not be afraid. Do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart." And that's what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. They could have been very scared to be put into that fiery furnace. I would have been. But instead, they chose to trust in the one true God and do what they knew was right. And that's what we need to do when we're faced with something that scares us. Do the right thing. Now it's time for our fun fact for the day. Yesterday we talked about there being 3 hits that you're allowed to have to get the ball back over every time the ball crosses the net. Today's fun fact, we actually talked a little bit about already when we talked about setting and your hands having to hit at the same time, or it's called a double. We are not allowed to hit the ball 2 times in a row. No player is allowed to hit the ball 2 times in a row, even if it's within your 3 hits that you get to get over. You have to have somebody else touch touch the ball in between you touching the ball 2 times before you get it over. So I could pass the ball to Kate, she could set the ball back to me, and I could hit the ball back over the net. So I've hit it 2 out of the 3 times, but I didn't do it in a row. I can't pass the ball and then set the ball one right after the other. Somebody else has to touch it between us. So the rule is you can't touch the ball 2 times in a row in volleyball. So today we learned a lot about setting. We learned a lot of things about our hands and the way they have to be around the ball-shaped hands. We learned about making sure we step forward with our right foot, how we take the ball in, kind of like an egg toss or a water balloon toss. We have to kind of cushion the ball a little bit, and how we have to finish like Superman and push the ball out, straightening our legs and our arms as we push the ball out to our partner. We also learned that we have to take the ball on our forehead and that we need to make sure that we can see through our window of our fingers as we push the ball out, and that we need to finish with flat hands. That's a lot of details to work on. So all I really want you to focus on is finding a wall in your house with a volleyball and work on just the little wrist part of it. And the rest of it will come later. We'll keep working on that as we go. But I really want you to work on just receiving that ball and pushing it back out with flat hands. You can do that against a wall by yourself. And tomorrow we're going to work on some new things, and I'm excited to see you. Thanks. Bye.